Okay, welcome to another edition of the Georgie and Patty Show. I should be saying the whole thing, but you only get a little bit today, I guess. I'm super excited for today. You know, I kind of woke up really excited, which is amazing and awesome. Just feeling lots of love and gratitude today. So when I was thinking about our show today and where we're talking about messaging and the importance of that, which kind of started last night, I guess, with my impromptu Facebook video that was posted. So for those who watched it, thank you. I came across a thing on the LinkedIn sales blog, which I thought fit really, really well with what we're going to cover today. So I'm going to kind of read through it and give you some thoughts on it. Sorry, I'm distracted by your thing, so I need a little work. Yeah, I know. It does. It's coming. It's coming. It's a work in progress. Experimentation. We talk about it all the time. Draft one. Okay, so on the blog it says today that to sell the way buyers want to buy, it has to be easy for your future clients to get information and connect to you. One of the best ways to do that is with a really clear, authentic message, which is why we're starting to talk about this today. It also said that future clients will search for solutions on their own, and in the latest research has shown that 87% of buyers want to understand the relevance to them of your product or service. So that's why when you're doing your messaging, it has to be from their perspective. Like think about that, 87% of your future clients are looking for things in that way. So messaging might be just a little important. It says also, help them in the discovery process by being exceptional. And that means personal interaction early in the process with plenty of relevant content tailored to them. Maybe if I'm clear about my message and what I stand for, that's going to help me make relevant content. Serious Decision reports that it takes 17 pieces of content to woo your future clients. I think this is another piece where when you're really clear about who you are, what you stand for, and what that message is, everything you begin to post, you can kind of bring into that message as opposed to just, you know, spaghetti on the walls, because I think we see a lot of that too, where we're like, oh, I'm going to make a video. Oh, I'm going to make a post. And it has nothing to do with who you are, what you stand for, or what your future clients are looking for. So really, really important. We need to engage people at various points in their buying cycle, and engage does not mean pitch. It means meeting people where they're at, asking relevant questions, going deep into their perspective. It's all about them, what they're thinking, determining if you can actually help them, and then showing people how you can help them in a way that's relevant to them. And all of this can be conveyed in really, really great messaging. Like, it's so important. So that's my intro into your messaging. And I also have another quote of the day, which comes from the movie The Pursuit of Happiness, which I think is a really great example of just perseverance, and it's also very inspiring. So Chris Gardner says, walk that walk and go forward all the time. Don't just talk that talk. Walk it and go forward. Also, the walk doesn't have to be long strides. Baby steps count too. Just go forward. So as we're moving forward in kind of these uncertain times, it can get a little scary and we get so, you know, unsure of what to do. Just keep moving forward. Go forward, go forward. Baby steps count. So on that note, I'm going to turn it over to my amazing super co-host, Patty Kay, and we're going to dive right into this messaging and how you can create yours that's in alignment and so important. Woohoo!
Thanks, Georgie. I'm like, you covered it all. We don't need me. Just write down what Georgie said and do it. However, I made slides, so I'm going to talk. In our little conference call that we have before we go live, I was telling Georgie, it's like, wow, this is a big subject. I could probably make an entire course about this subject. It is super important. This is a thing that I do. This is the thing that I am passionate about. Is about this idea of messaging and words. Because when you really start to think about it, the words that you use are everything when it comes to your marketing. So the topic for today call it brand messaging, how to talk about what you do so that your future clients listen, understand, and buy. This is the key to everything. It really is. I've probably said this before on this broadcast, but marketing funnels don't work because they happen to have 4 videos and they happen to have 7 follow-up email messages. They work when you have the right words on it. When you connect with your clients, when you make it relevant to them, when they get what you do, and they see how it's going to help them, and that's what has people decide to buy. So this is what we're talking about today, is this idea of brand messaging. And when we're talking about brand messaging, which is kind of a fancy pants kind of a word, it's really kind of the umbrella over your whole business. So for those of you who are like that we talked about yesterday about, oh, I don't want or I don't have a specific niche or target market or something like that, or I offer multiple services, there are multiple things that I do. This brand message, you'll like this brand messaging kind of perspective because it covers what you do in a large umbrella sort of a term. It's the house under which everything lives. And also as part of this, and I was trying to paraphrase the question that we got yesterday where I said, that deserves a longer answer. My memory of it was something along the lines of, how do I make marketing myself more enjoyable? How do I bring my marketing into my work? How do I make a closer overlap between what I do and how I market myself? And I expect that what we're talking about today is going to answer that question. And if it does not, and you have more questions about it, please ask at the end of the presentation. I am happy to take questions, to dive in a little bit deeper if anybody has specific questions. So that's our mission for today. And our daily permission slip is here. When we talk about messaging and brand messaging kind of a thing, this is really a level 2 focus. In fact, it is like the focus for level 2 kind of a business. So if you're still in level 1 or you're still working on this, you don't have to get it perfect. And in fact, there may never come a time when it is perfect and stable and carved in stone. As long as we evolve as human beings, as long as we get better and better at what we do and more refined and we bring more skills in, it's going to shift. It'll change over time, and that's fine. This is not a you must get this right before you continue sort of a thing. This is an evolving process. And even if you're just starting out in kind of a level 1 looking for your first clients, it's really helpful to think this way. This is part of the work that Georgie and I do with our clients, is really getting them to think differently about how they approach marketing and messaging. We talked way back last week sometime about the idea of principles versus formulas. This is very much that. If you get the gist of this, if you get the idea of this, you'll be able to be more effective with your marketing and your messaging like this afternoon. That's where we're going. So fancy pants, jargony language, brand, probably the most misunderstood word in the marketing world. A lot of people, when you say brand, immediately think about visuals. Today we're talking about messaging. It's about the words. This is not my favorite human being on the planet. However, I have not found a better description of what we're going for here, is that your brand is what other people say about you when you're not in the room. And I love this for a lot of reasons, one of which is it kind of dismisses this idea that our brand should be something that is contrived, something that has rules. And when you talk to branding experts who deal with large corporations, they have to approach it that way because they're not talking about a specific person. What we're talking about here in the realm of the professional service provider, that what I would call the U-shaped business. You are a person, you are already a brand because you are a person, and that's something to keep in mind. This is not about trying to make yourself into something that you're not. And I would invite everybody who's in a professional services kind of a business to kind of ignore that any advice that's about corporate branding, because it often comes with this idea that you should change into a different kind of human being. And instead, play up who you are. We're going to talk about this in a lot more detail today, but it's about you being you, and this idea that people get what you do. And if you ever listen to somebody describe you, if you've ever had a referral from a client and the client has said something about you, or if you've been introduced as a speaker, or you overhear somebody talking about what you do, you've just had some insight into your brand, because that's what they're getting from you. And I know for me, I've had certainly had times, especially back when I was beginning, where people were talking about me in a way where I'm like, seriously? That's what you think I do? It's like, that is so not clear. And it can be kind of a depressing moment when you're going, oh man, that's what you think of me. But it's also, it's kind of a hint that you need to pay attention to how you're talking about what you do. So that's what we're talking about today. So right back to this idea of professional services business. Always, when you're taking marketing advice from anybody, including me, what's the context? I have no idea how to market widgets or gas stations or something like that. My thing is professional service businesses, people who do things for their clients, people who are in business, and they are a good portion of the product. This is the context that this is in. And when we look at this diagram I'll keep pulling up throughout these broadcasts, this is what a professional service business looks like. It's you providing a service to your clients in exchange for revenue. It's this really, really simple thing. And when you look at your messaging, your marketing, what you say, it will kind of make sense that it would be comprised of those three things. That Venn diagram, that your brand messaging is going to live in the center of these three things. There's the you part, your personal brand, who you are, what you stand for, your personality. Your messaging needs to sound like you. You want some congruency between what you say in writing, how you show up in your videos, and how you actually show up during client conversations. You are a big part of your brand. This might not be true of you if you're a gas station, but when you're a professional services business, you are part of it, a big part of it. There's your clients. We harp on this all the time, client-centered marketing. From your client's perspective, if you listen to Georgie's intro today, it's all about your clients and what you do for them, about having your message be directed directly to them. It's about them. It's about their problems. It is about your clients. And then the third piece is about your work. And when you get all three of these things together, you, your clients, and your work, if you could pull all of that together, and if people were to talk about you when you're not in the room, about how awesome you are, the kinds of people you work with, and the things that you do for them, then that's what we're looking for. That's what gets us referrals. That's what has people understand what we do. If you can compress this into your networking introduction, your elevator pitch, your LinkedIn profile, plaster this all over your website, this is where we're going with the words. We want to bring in this intersection. Now, when I work with my clients, what they tell me that they're looking for are these sorts of things, or I tell them that this is what they need. But the first thing is like this intersection between you and your personality and who you are, and your clients, who they are. The intersection of that creates this connection. When we talk about Bob Burg's quote about building know, like, and trust, this is what happens when you show up authentically as you and you speak directly to the people who need your services. You create that connection. You start to create that know, like, and trust. When we talk about attraction, this is what happens between this intersection. Is you need to, this is the relationship part, is you as a human being, your client as a human being. This is the human-centeredness of your messaging, happens in that intersection. you want to be, you want your clients to understand the value that you offer. This comes into pricing. A lot of people talk about pricing and what to charge, and they look at their competitors, freelancers, especially when they look at something like Fiverr or Upworks, and they see that, you know, competing on price is a rapid dive down to the bottom. The value of your services, charging more money happens when you are able to explain what you do in terms of how it helps your clients. It's not about the thing that you do, it's about the problem that you solve, and the value that your client places on it. So if you look at things like value-based pricing instead of charging by the hour, to successfully pull this off, you have to move into this intersection of what your services do specifically for your clients. That's where that lives. That's I often say when people say, oh, I can't get people to pay my prices, I'm like, okay, that could be the clients that you're after, but it's more likely to be part of your marketing, that you're not making that clear. And the third piece here, uniqueness. This must be the number one thing that my clients ask me. How do I stand out from everybody else? And when you talk about it, delivery. This is maybe unique with my delightful doggy in the background. Yes, yes, uniqueness, it's important. So, but you know, I often say to clients, it's like the place for your uniqueness, it really lies a lot in you. You know, if you know, even using myself as an example with a, you know, marketing, consulting, copywriting kind of thing, it's like, yeah, there are a lot of copywriters, and you can hire a zillion different people to write words for you, but there's only one of me, and that makes me unique. So when you bring you into it a little bit more, alongside your services, what you do and how you do it, that's where the uniqueness comes from. And this is really the three things that we want to get across in our marketing and in our messaging. So we want to connect with our ideal clients. We want to build that relationship, the know, like, and trust. We want to display our value, show that our services are worth what we charge, that they're valuable, and we want to stand out from other people who do what we do, so that we become the obvious choice to our future clients. They're out there looking for us. This is the sign that we're putting up to help them find us. It's kind of like holding up the sign in the airport. It's like, hey, this is me. So this is the delightful Venn diagram of your brand messaging. And let's look just a little bit closer as to what this actually means, what each piece is. So when we talk about you and how you show up as part of the brand messaging, you're going to want to talk about things like what makes you an expert, what makes you credible. This is your experience, your expertise, your where you got your training, your qualifications. It's like what makes you an expert in what you do. There's a credibility part that comes into play here. There is an authenticity part. This is you being you. This is showing your personality. This is talking the way that you talk. This is your, you know, it's your pet phrases. It's your perspective. It's your personality. And you know, people, this is where people get caught up, is they get advice sometimes to be somebody that they're not, but you want to be your authentic self. I had a client just the other day critiquing their own webinar that they had done. They're watching the video and saying, oh, I'm not enthusiastic enough. I'm not motivational enough. I'm not funny enough. It's all kind of dry. And I'm like, how many people showed up? 28. How many people were there at the end an hour later? 28. It's like, you're doing it great. It's like, you're enough the way you are. Just show up and do your thing, and don't worry about trying to be somebody you're not. When we try to do that, we're not our authentic selves. It's like the number of people that have told me and Georgie that we laugh too much, we giggle too much, and it's not professional. And it's like, I can't be somebody that doesn't show up and kind of bounces around and laughs and giggles. It's just like, it's part of who I am. And if people don't like it, they won't like working with me, because that is how I authentically show up when I work with my clients. And that's true for you too. Whatever your personality is, it's fine. It's good enough, exactly as you are. I could give you a permission slip right now. You do not have to add humor if you are not funny. You do not have to stop giggling if you are. And if you're a little bit quirky, a little bit goofy, it's totally okay to bring that in. That's part of what's going to make you unique and you. The other piece you want to bring into this you part is that leadership thing that we talked about last week. What do you stand for? What do you believe in? What are your opinions? It's take a stand, say what you think, kind of plant your flag. All of these things are part of what your ideal clients are buying from you. You are part of the product. And this is what they're looking for, that you know what you're doing, that you have some credibility, they have a personality, they think they're going to like you. And they find the people who believe what we believe, is they see where you're going and they're in alignment with it. This is the you part of your brand and of your messaging. And the other piece, your clients. As much as it is about you, it's not about you. Marketing is all about your clients. So yes, you're going to show up as you and you're going to have those things, you're going to pull those things in. However, you really want your marketing to go through this filter of your clients. And we talked about this idea of like a dog whistle. Your messaging, what you say, is exclusive. And I mean exclusive. You are talking to your future clients only. So when you sit down to write something, you are thinking about your clients. You're writing for your future clients. You're not writing for your colleagues. You're not writing for your competitors, for your critics, for anybody that will disagree with you. You're not writing for everybody. You're not trying to make things understandable for everybody. It's exclusive. It's only about your clients. Focused 100% on them. And people run into trouble. They get writer's block. They're not sure what to say when they start thinking about critics and everyone and looking good in front of their colleagues. It's not what that's about. Your messaging needs to be about your clients, and that means you're going to be talking about their problems, about their desires, about what they want, about what they're struggling with. You're going to use their language. You're going to keep it really simple. A lot of us who have expertise, we want to talk about our thing. We want to use our language. We want to take things that our clients tell us, we want to correct them. We want to paraphrase them, put them in our words instead of theirs. And this means in some cases, sometimes you have to talk about things that you don't want to talk about, or you have to, because you have to meet clients where they are. A couple of places people get tripped up is life coaches and positive thinking kind of advocates. It's part of what they believe in. They don't want to talk about problems. They don't want to talk about symptoms. They don't want to talk about what their clients are struggling with because they don't want to use negative language of any sort. However, you can do that in a way that's empathetic. You don't have to grind in the pain, but you have to meet your clients where they are at. Your future clients are a before picture. You need to talk about where they're at now and what they want. Use their language. I had a client who says, it drives me nuts. My clients always say they want to get over it. They just want to get over it. They just want to get over it. And she says they can't. It's not possible. And I'm like, that's fine. But that is also a really great introduction, is to say that you help people get over it. You can leave the just part out, and you don't have to make it simple. But if that's what they're looking for, then that comes out in your messaging. So their language, how do they describe it? Easy to understand. The third piece is to talk about your services. This is part of your messaging too. You want people to know what you do, and you want to talk not about how you do things, but about how your services help your clients. So this is presenting what you do as a solution to the problems that they're having, as a way to help them get what they want. It's not about the nuts and bolts of how you do things precisely in your language. The sad thing is that most people won't care. I learned this really well when I I started off as a freelancer as a computer programmer, and sadly, nobody wanted to know about code. I wanted to talk about code. I was very excited about things like databases, and clients were not. They wanted to know how what I did would solve their business problems. And when I figured out how to talk about that instead of code, all of a sudden people bought stuff from me. It was like, wow, how amazing. I just have to stop talking about what I do and start talking about what they want. In hindsight, it's really, really obvious, but we get caught up in this because we are in love with the thing that we do. So you want to present your services as a solution, and you want to have a process or a plan. You want to let people know how it works. This is not the details of how you're going to write the code and create the procedures or something like that. It's about, here's how we're going to work together. We're going to have a discovery meeting. I'm going to figure out what you need. I'm going to create a design. I'm going to run this design past you. We're going to iterate the design until it perfectly matches what you need. Then I'm going to go and write the code. Then we're going to do a review. It's you map out, how does it work? This is what gives people confidence that you know what you're doing. This is where things like signature programs or signature processes come from. It's like, this is how I do things, and this also can be your uniqueness. You may do things differently than someone else who does the same kind of work that you do. We work with a lot of coaches. They have very different processes to how they work with their clients, different things they like to do with clients, different ways that they want to work. So you want to map that out so that people know what they're getting into. And some proof, testimonials, success stories. Give us some before and afters. This is what we want to know about services. And you pull all of these things together. That is the center of your brand messaging. Like, these are all the pieces. You pull all these pieces together, and that's what you get. And really, where you want to go with this is to have some balance, which is often a tricky thing because you want to balance all three. Equally is maybe asking a little bit much because we have preferences. You're going to be naturally drawn to one of these circles more than the other. I think this is just how we are built as human beings. You look at that and you go, okay, that one's easy. That one's okay. The other one, oh, that's really hard. I've got a client can't stand to talk about themselves. It happens, but you need the balance. You need all three of those things. And when you think about if you think about right now, about who's leading your industry, who are the people that you follow, who are the people who have become really, really successful, and if you take a look at it, you will see that the people who are truly successful have all three things in play, but they may have a preference. So for example, when I think about a brand that has a preference for focusing on themselves, the first person that springs to mind is Marie Forleo. It's all about her name. It's Marie TV. It's all about her. And from the outside looking in, you might even think, oh, it's just all about her. But the reality is, she does a great job of marketing her services, and she does a great job of talking about what clients want and what matters. And a lot of times, that kind of stuff can appear a little bit invisible, but that's an example of somebody who's decided to primarily make their brand about themselves, which is fine. You're going to have a preference. As for a brand focused more on a service and what you do, immediately think of Simon Sinek, who often, when I talk about Simon Sinek, people don't know who he is, but I say, oh, he's the start with why guy. Then they know. So that's more of a brand that's more built around the work that he does and how he does it and the process. However, it's very client-centered, and it is also about him. He is part of it because he is the spokesperson for it. So it's balanced. It's got those three pieces. And in terms of client-centered, the example that comes to mind for me is the notes from the universe. I've been getting the notes from the universe for years, and it was probably, I probably got those notes for like 5 years before I realized who wrote it, and I didn't even make those connections until I read Mike Dooley's book, Playing the Matrix, and he mentioned that that's what he did. Because the notes from the universe, if you get them, are incredibly client-centered, almost to the point where you don't know who it is behind it, or even what they're selling. And now I notice when I look at it, it's like, oh, okay, he's always got stuff to offer. He does talk about his book and stuff like that. But incredible client-centered approach. There's not a lot in it about him. It's about you. And so, but with that balance, right? And what you want to be careful of here is when we go too far into our preference. And even when I look at at me and at Georgie, I have a preference for talking about my work. I love what I do. I'm constantly learning more. I like to teach about what I do. Like, that is my preference. Is about my services. Georgie's preference is about our clients. She is the connector. She's the person who wants human beings to matter, and it's all about the people. Georgie's preference is really more about the people and about the clients. Mine is about what we do. And then we look at what we're doing here. There's a little bit of a stretch for both of us to do something called the Georgie and Patty Show, which is about elevating who we are a little bit more. I've had clients tell me that, oh, Patty, your biggest problem is nobody knows who you are. And it's like, yeah, I prefer to be behind the scenes, putting my clients out first and focusing on my work. So you may see in yourself that you have a preference for one of those things. And you may want to look at turning up the volume on the others. Because if you don't, you run into some problems. People who are too much on the you-centered piece, and they clients are an afterthought, if at all, don't really talk about their work. This is kind of like the influencer, celebrity, look at me. It comes across as really kind of self-centered. It might make you popular, but not necessarily profitable. There's a lot of kind of influencer kind of people who have huge followings, but behind the scenes they struggle to sell anything because they haven't made the connection to what they do for people, and something to sell. So, and you'll see this. Some people sometimes see things and you go, wow, I don't understand it. I don't know what they're selling. It's all about them. Yeah, it's an inspiring story, but so what? And people can love you. You can do this, and people can love you. They'll think you're absolutely amazing and inspiring, and they want to be just like you. Doesn't necessarily mean they want to buy anything from you. You can also get, if you're too much into about your clients and about helping them, about making connections, you can kind of get professionally friend-zoned, where they see you as a friend and somebody that they really adore, but they have no idea what you do. They don't know why people would hire you. It's the really strong kind of a connection, but not a lot of the professional stuff. And if you go way too far into only talking about your work, you risk being a commodity, being another person, being yet another coach who does exactly the same thing as all the other coaches do, or yet another website developer, just like a gazillion of them on Upwork. So if you're too much into your work, you start to position yourself as a commodity. So really what you're looking for is that balance between being your authentic self and connecting with your future clients, and talking about your work. And that's it. Insert big finish here.
Well, I think it's so good, right? Because you get all three of those circles, and finding kind of for lack of a better word, the balance between the three is not always easy. And you're so right. Like, I think, oh my God, I've been friend zoned for so long in so many different spaces, right? Where I'm like, oh, I just want to help the people. And literally I have had people that have been introduced to me, and they'll be like, hey, so-and-so said I should come talk to you. They have no idea what you do, but they just said they're sure you could help me with something. And so as soon as you said that, I'm like, oh my God, I've been in the friend zone for so long, for such a, long, different points in times, right? And you don't make money in the friend zone, FYI. You really don't.
And you end up competing on price in the commodity zone.
Exactly. So I think it's a really good reminder to look at, where am I most comfortable, and that's kind of my sweet spot. And then now where can I stretch and grow, and how can I bring some balance into those other spaces, right? Because it is really, really, it's really important. So I thought that's my little takeaway from today. I'm like, I'm in the friend zone. Or I have been in the friend zone. I wonder if that translates to my life a little bit. Interesting. That's a whole other topic.
And hardly in the me zone. Yes, the me zone is difficult for a lot of us. That we don't want to make it about me. Even when people say, I hate self-promotion, it's like, I don't want to be the center of attention. I don't want to be about me. So here's the thing. You want client-centered you. And one of the things that clients want to know, and this is one of the things I do in my work, is I interview my clients' clients to find out what it is that they want, what it is that they're looking for. And a big piece of what they want, for those of you who don't like to talk about themselves, is they want to know who you are. They want to know, who are you as a human being? They want to be able to connect with a personality. They want to know what your credentials and experience are. They want to know that you know what you're doing. It's important. They want to know that. But they also want to, this one person put it beautifully, they want to see your humanity. If they are this is especially true if you do any kind of work that requires your clients to be vulnerable. And for anyone who does coaching, consulting, even freelancing, when you think about it through the lens of the clients, there is this element of vulnerability. They have to tell you what they want. They have to tell you what's not working for them. They have to admit to not knowing something. They might have to reveal some mistakes. I have people that are embarrassed to show me the copy that they've written for themselves, or they're embarrassed to show me their website. And that's even on something as cold as, it's just words, right? Like, it's my work and I have that distance from it, but it's personal to people. And if you're coaching somebody and they're going to tell you about what they're struggling with and their deepest secrets and fears, that know, like, and trust element is so important. They need to see you as a human being. It's like, is this somebody I'm going to feel comfortable with? What are they like as a person? And this is why it's so important to do stuff like video. I say that even though I don't have any videos on my own website. At the very least, you need to have your photo. It shocks me sometimes when I see people who are putting themselves out in a service-based business who don't even have a photo on their website. It's like, who are you? Who is this person that I'm going to be working with? So it is important, and you can do that by being helpful. You can do that from a very client-centered way. You can do that by talking about work. It doesn't have to be all about you. You don't have to unveil your deep, dark secrets. You do not have to tell your rags to riches, hero's journey kind of a story. You can, if you want, but keep that kind of relegated to your about page. It's not all about you. And in fact, when you look at this messaging through, I'm sure you've heard about how important it is to tell stories. When you look at these three elements of stories, you always want your client to be the hero. So if we're going to look at the hero in the story, it's your client. Your client is the hero. They're trying to get something that they want. They're the ones struggling with obstacles. You want them to be the hero of the story. You are the guide. You are the guide that helps them get what they want, and your work is the plan. That's the guidance that you give them. So if you're want to put that storytelling kind of framework into perspective here, that's how it looks. You are not the hero. When you are the hero, you create that self-centered brand, and people might cheer for you and they might think that that's awesome, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they want to work with you. And so yes, you can have it, but don't center it. That's my advice.
So true. Such a good point. And I think, when we show up as the human in us, and, I think often it's that humanity that people are drawn to more than your credentials or your degrees or those kinds of things. It's, I want to know that I can trust this human. I think it goes back to when we were talking about like Maslow's hierarchy of needs and just human behavior and what we want to feel safe. Am I safe with this person? Can I trust them? And I think that comes from our humanity. Yeah. Unfortunately, I have to leave early again for another class. Keep up the great work and play. Love the story hero guide idea. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And on Facebook, we've got, oh my God, so many light bulbs just went on. Excellent.
Awesome. I love when that happens. I love it when it happens.
Exactly. So, me too. And I just want to say, before we get into the Q&A really quickly, because I was going to say this in the beginning, I forgot. But for tomorrow's show, we're doing things. We actually have a special guest. So our plan is for Thursdays that we will be actually interviewing a really inspiring human that actually is also probably successful. And so tomorrow totally falls in line with that. His name is Bill Gould. He was a very, very, very successful commercial realtor here in Vancouver. Part of his story is, he was on welfare back in 1983. Took him 11 years to make his first million. And then from there, it just skyrocketed. And so he is one of the most heart-centered, kind, loving human beings I have the pleasure of having in my sphere. So tomorrow we're going to have a conversation with him. He's going to share some of his success tips, sales, marketing, all of that good stuff, as well as what he did to get to where he is today. So it really ties in great with yesterday where we were talking about kind of beliefs and having that faith and how you build on that and be able to take those steps when sometimes you're not so sure. So do tune in tomorrow because we will be having an open conversation. You can ask questions. So that's going to be tomorrow. So I wanted to mention that before we get a little bit off track and run out of time and I forget again. So yeah, on to Q&A.
I just wanted to circle back a little bit to that question about, how do you take this and how do you use it to turn marketing into fun, and into fun, something that really supports your work. And the thing is to look at it through those frames. So you can show up and be authentic. So that takes away a whole lot of stress of I have to be something that I am not, and I have to talk about myself or whatever. You show up as authentic, show your personality, talk about what you believe in. There can be some real energy behind that kind of thing. When you talk about your work, talk about it through a lens of client-centeredness, and then in your marketing, you get to be helpful. There's a really strong overlap between what I'm doing today on this marketing broadcast kind of thing and what I do with my clients. Like there's a huge overlap, and I'm just looking at this as like, okay, how can I help people? And how can I help people? It demonstrates my expertise. It's helpful to the people that are tuning in. It's about my work. So we put all that stuff together. And if you make it about your clients, it can often be easier to show up because you're being helpful. Especially if you relate a little bit to being on a rescue mission in your business, that you want to save people, that you want to help people, that you see a problem that needs to be changed. If you can see your marketing as part of that mission, you can inspire people. Somebody who gets this so right, so balanced is Mel Robbins. The 5-second rule, her emails are inspiring. She says, I love you. Like they're very, very, very personal, very much about the person on the receiving end. Yeah, she's a very well-known personality and brand. And her 5-second rule thing is you know, that's kind of the core of her work, or at least what she is known for. And when you pull all that together, then everything you do for marketing is selling what you do. It's almost like you just have to show up.
So true. Okay, we have a couple more comments and questions in the chat. So one, or worse, I was told by someone to use someone else's photo. Person is around my age, and photo is in the late 20s. Yeah, quick way to destroy know, like, and trust. Have completely different. Okay, so for email subject line, should that message focus on client problem?
Maybe. The message should be relevant to the client that's reading it. It's a matter of relevance. So you can focus on a problem that they're experiencing. You could focus on something that they want. You could answer a question that they might have. You know, generally speaking, it should be interesting to them. Like everything you do for marketing, look at it from a client's perspective. It needs to be relevant to them. And it's true in terms of your future clients. It needs to be relevant to them.
Yeah.
You can expect that your future clients are going to have similar problems, concerns, desires to your current clients.
Okay, here's another one. If our ideal clients are corporate people, example, HR managers in a medium or large size business, do you think they would be put off by fun, humorous images on a website? What about headshots? Is fun or professional style best? I prefer fun. Corporate seems stuffy to me.
Georgie, I think this one is one for you.
Here's the thing. So often we think that these HR managers and these CEOs and all these people are almost not human. They're different. And while I know it gets easier to, you know, and even if we're in those roles, it's easy to kind of jump into that little defined box. So I would say in cases like this, I think a balance is good, right? I think if you know you're dealing with, say, a super highly, you know, just by the book kind of thing, you might want to have some more professional looking things if that's who you are. Like I have done work in corporations, and honestly, what you see is what you get. You know, and I think it is that ability to be able to show up as who you are, and you do want to create the balance. So, and what is fun and humorous for you? Is it wearing, you know, costumes and those kinds of things? Like there's actually a guy, they do, I think it's called Banana Something Marketing. Most of their clientele is corporate type people. He wears a big yellow suit with a big yellow top hat because that's who he is. So I think it really is, I think it's important to be who you are. And if it's so far out of your realm of who you are, to do that very stoic professional headshot, don't do it. You can be smiley, you can be happy, you can wear bright colors. You can show yourself having fun in your life, in your work. Because the reality is, if you have a company that's looking for a very, let's just call it gray suit kind of person to come in and teach and train, and you put that on your website, but how you show up is colorful, fun, a little energetic, you giggle a bit, there's going to be a disconnect. So they might reach out to you because of this almost false image on your site. But then when they get the real you, either you're going to have to be someone you're not, or they're going to be like, what the heck? So I think there are tons of corporations out there that are completely okay with a little fun and humor and lightness, right? It's about finding the match. Like your future clients are looking for you. And I honestly don't think it matters so much whether they are corporate executives, small entrepreneurs, you know, it's you're looking for your people who believe what you believe. You know, I mean, look at Google. Google's definitely more fun, right? They got all kinds of interesting things happening there. So I think it's always, always important to be you. And this, I was once actually at a workshop, and this guy was saying that you want to be appropriately you. right? And I think that's a real key word there. So we're looking at the context, we're looking through the eyes of our client, and we want to be appropriately you. So let's say you spend your time off work, maybe in bikinis in your backyard because you love your hot tub. Super fun. I might not put that on my business website. Nothing wrong with it, and perfectly fine for the summer barbecue in the backyard, but might not be as appropriate for your professional clients, right? So I think it's looking at more what's appropriately, for what you're doing. But you still want you to be there, right? And again, it comes down to who are you really? What message do you want to convey? What's important to your clients? And where do all three of those pieces come together? So, yeah.
That's a really good distinction, Georgie, is that I think for all of us, we can very authentically show up one way at work and another way in our personal life. It's because that's authentically what we do.
Exactly.
And it's just in terms of your marketing, yeah, you want to, and it's kind of like this honesty in advertising thing almost, right? It's like, yeah, this is what you're hiring. Like, this is what you're hiring. This is not me being an off the charts goofball because I'm being an off the charts goofball and I think I'm going to get more likes and shares because of that. This is how I show up when I work with my clients. This is what you can expect. And then you have this congruency that happens, and that's what helps build trust. It's like, oh wow, you look like your photo, you sound like you're writing. It's like, wow, you sound exactly like you sound on your website is a very, very great thing to hear, because it means that you're being congruent, and then people are like, oh, there's a level of trust, familiarity that happens.
Exactly. Okay, here's one. My biggest challenge currently is patience. This is very new to me, the entrepreneurial thing, after working for 40 years for others with a role to fill, and I'm used to just learning things I may not know and getting on with the job. So I expect to just take this on and learn a few things and do it. Yet that isn't the process for me right now. And I'm continually feeling like I'm not doing enough yet. I'm actually doing everything I am able to do at the stage I am at. It's such a common thing. And I think there's a couple pieces to this too. I think often, we might have talked, I don't know if we talked about, Patty and I just talked about this or we talked about it in our show, but where it's put out there that this entrepreneur thing is pretty kind of easy. You just go, okay, I've done my coaching school, I've learned this thing, boom, I got it. I just show up and I do my thing. And it's not like that, right? It is a really oftentimes kind of slow process to get all the pieces together, right? It's like those seeds. We're planting, we're nourishing, we're watering, and here we go, and here we go. And we take a few steps back, and then we wake up some days and we figure like, I have no clue what the hell I'm doing. This was the dumbest decision I've ever made. I don't know how to help people. It's just too overwhelming. And then we wake up days and we're like, okay, I got this. I'm like a superhero. Here I come. And then we have the days in between. And I think the other big difference too, especially when we're transitioning out of a working for someone else environment, when we work for someone else, there's a structure. We know what to do. Someone has told us. We get up in the morning, we go to work, we have our job description, we know the things we're supposed to do every day, and we get our paycheck, in the pay period. When we become an entrepreneur, especially solo entrepreneur, it's kind of like, I'm not really sure. I don't really know what those pieces are. I've heard the things. I know I need to do sales. I know I need to do marketing. I know I need to reach out to people. I know I need to have sales conversations. I know I need to get my copyright. I know I need to post on social media. But I don't really know how to do a lot of those things, or what are the steps within each of those pieces. What is a sales process? What's a sales cadence? How do I know what my buyer really wants? What am I looking for? And so then we sit down at our desk and we're like, today I'm working on sales. I'm going to do some sales calls. I'm going to reach out to people. I have no idea what to say. I have no idea how to do that. I hear I can do it on social media, but I don't know how. So we start to get confused with those things and it gets really overwhelming. And I think like the quote this morning, right? It's about continuing to go forward, to continue to go forward. Sometimes those steps look like baby steps, and sometimes they're bigger strides. And I think that's one of the things we really wanted to bring to people with doing these daily shows, is to give you kind of some little pieces that you can go do so that you can make this, take these steps, So at least you're moving forward. You're getting data, you're getting feedback, you're discovering some of the things that are working, some of the things that aren't. And you start to create this awareness of, oh, I kind of thought this was going to be easier. I thought I just have to do a couple things here and there, but oh, there's more to this. So we want to be able to provide a bit of that support as people are moving through this journey, because it is oftentimes confusing and hard and challenging, and we don't know what to do. So those feelings of uncertainty and I don't know if I can do this, totally normal. Am I not doing enough? Am I doing enough? I don't really know, right? Really normal. And it does depend on the different stages that you're at. You will get comfortable, you will get better, as long as you keep moving, right? Like, I am such a firm believer that, we all have these great gifts, and the world really does need what you are here to do. If you feel like your calling is to do this entrepreneurial thing, you have something to share with the world. So it's about just keep showing up, just keep doing things, just keep experimenting. And sometimes that experimentation is not efficient. Sometimes it feels like this is heavy and hard and a complete waste of my time. And sometimes it flows really well. So it's taking the data and then adjust, and, keep moving forward. So that's kind of my take on that. And Patty probably has some extra pieces to add.
Well, I just saw the comment come up about sometimes there's a detour. And what immediately sprung to mind for me was there was Steve Jobs did a commencement address about that, about life only being understood when you look at it backwards. And, he talked about detours and about seemingly unrelated things all coming together in the end. And that's definitely been true for me. A lot of I often have felt in this journey that I've gone off on a detour or, ran into a dead end or something like that. But eventually it all flows back. Flow towards your goals like a river. Great quote. Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. It's we think there's this cute drawing where we think that success is like a straight line from A to B. Right. And we want that. We want the 3-step formula. We want the 90-day plan that's going to get us from A to B with no detours, never making a mistake, get it perfect the first time. But really, it looks like this crazy, windy road with lots of twists and curves and detours. And it's like, I think the sooner you can accept that, hey, this is what it is, the easier it becomes.
Exactly. And I think looking at it too, being really honest with yourself too, because I think this is another trap we get into where we think we're busy, but we're not maybe busy doing the right things, right? And so if we look at what are the results that are happening for you in your business right now, and going, okay, maybe I need to evaluate some of the things I'm doing, and maybe there are some things that I'm doing that aren't necessarily helping me right now, and what else could I do? And maybe that requires a reach out or something to say, hey, I really know I want to be talking to 15 people a week. I'm talking to one. I don't know how to find 15 more people, but I know and I think I'm doing stuff. I'm kind of, and reevaluating what am I doing to do that? Well, I'm liking things on social media. Well, actually, truthfully, I'm scrolling for like an hour, not really doing much. But so really being honest with yourself about the activities you're doing and what are the results of those activities that you're getting, and is it really moving you to closer or farther to where you want to go? And that's a challenging thing to do, especially when we don't really know. But that honesty thing will take you far.
Very, 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 very much so.
Yeah.
It's very easy to get caught up being busy, doing stuff that doesn't take you anywhere.
Exactly. Any other questions, thoughts as we are wrapping up to the end of the hour.
We are a minute over time.
We're a minute over time. Okay, who's got a good question? Because they usually come in about a minute or two over time. And if not, we thank you guys for being here. We will be back tomorrow, like I say, with a special guest. So let's try that out and see how that goes. I'm certain it's going to be a really amazing conversation, and it'll be a space for you to be able to ask questions of someone that you might not have access to all that often, which is a really great thing. It's another reason, well, I was going to say it's one of the reasons we want to do it live, but the other reason is we're really lazy and we're terrible at editing, so everything we do is live. That's the truth of it. If we waited,
we get one shot at it.
If we recorded it, the reality is, and then we had to edit it, you'd probably never see it. So
exactly.
We're doing what works for us, and we're lazy. So there you go. So thank you very much. We will see you tomorrow.
Have a great day.
See you later.
All right. Bye.